It just felt like bully ball, just being physical.
Give me that helmet. All right. In this situation,
That's not like him.
I think Dan Campbell got a little jealous. He saw his ex over there in Chicago running some fun plays and said, you know what, we can still do that.
Hello and welcome to Football X's and O's, our new weekly tactics show giving you the inside analysis on the best NFL matchups every Monday. This is a special Tuesday edition. We'll dive into the Detroit Lions' 38-30 win over the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. I'm Ryan Sanudo, and alongside me is NFL expert David Scott. David, plenty of things to get to.
Definitely, this game was as advertised, very fun, very exciting. I'm excited to talk about it.
All right, David, what topics do you have?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about seeing double, trick shot, pitch perfect, made his mark, and Goff script.
All right, let's get things started. The Detroit Lions just ran rampant on the Baltimore defense. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, they were just running wild on that defense. Talk to me about their skill and how they did it against Baltimore.
Yeah, so these are two great rushing teams. They're both built around running the football. And usually you would think, hey, this is the Baltimore Ravens script. We're going to ground and pound. Instead, the Lions say, hey, we're going to turn it right back on you. We got two guys who might be two of the best in the league, and they just absolutely eviscerated the Ravens defense. Jahmyr Gibbs is supposed to be the top guy. David Montgomery said, hey, give me that ball. Give me that ball. I'm going to take over today, and he absolutely crushed it. They both did. 2 touchdowns for each of them. It was an outburst, and what we saw in week 1 from the Detroit Lions is not what we're seeing anymore. They are back. They are fully back.
It just felt like bully ball, just being physical, on the trenches. The Ravens usually do that. You think they're the team to do that to the Lions, and it was the complete opposite. Talk to me about the fact that the Lions beat the Baltimore Ravens at their own game.
Yeah, the Ravens, you're right. A bully ball is what you kind of expect from the Ravens, especially with a guy like Derrick Henry, who's monstrous and has the speed of Jahmyr Gibbs. He's supposed to be running guys over. Instead, David Montgomery, they call him Knuckles for a reason. They call Gibbs and Montgomery Sonic and Knuckles for a reason. Gibbs is going to go spin around, do his speedy stuff, and Montgomery is going to run a man over. That's exactly what he did. He was brutal. He was putting guys in the dirt. He was running through people, and also he was getting some big chunk plays. It was just an all-around, well-rounded offensive performance from the running backs on the Lions. The receivers chipped in too, but it was purely focused on the running backs yesterday, and they did a spectacular job.
On the flip side, Baltimore, they just struggled on, the rushing attack. Derrick Henry, 12 carries for 50 yards, gets that touchdown, gets the fumble. That's the fumble issue with him. 3rd fumble in 3 games. What do you make of his fumble issues? That's not like him.
It's very out of character for Derrick Henry. We're used to him being very secure with the football. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's really good at what he does. He holds on to the football well. He's got a huge frame around the football. These last 3 weeks, he's lost a fumble once every game, and 2 of them were in the 4th quarter and resulted in losses. So it's a huge question mark. Why is Derrick Henry losing the football? I don't know. I can't tell you that. But what we're seeing is it's a problem. It's something that has to get fixed quickly, because if you keep losing footballs in crucial moments like he has, you're going to start losing trust in him. And you can't lose trust in Derrick Henry because he is your top option on that team. You have to have him in those key moments. If he's not performing for you, then the Ravens are going to be in big trouble.
And I think it's with bunches when it comes to Henry. I feel like in previous years he holds on to the football, but then there's a stretch, 3 fumbles in 3 games, and you see it, for this season so far. Are you worried about Derrick Henry moving forward, or you think, it's only 3 games?
You can't be worried about Derrick Henry because he's Derrick Henry. You can be worried about the fumble problem and hope that he does something to fix that. Maybe he'll hold on to the ball a little tighter. But you can't worry about Derrick Henry. You know he's going to be a focal point in this offense. You know he is a top or the top running back in the NFL. You just have to hope that he cleans this one issue up and goes forward and, just finds some wins for the Ravens.
All right, to the next topic. Halftime, it's 14-14. The Ravens score a touchdown. The Lions get the ball. 6th play. They're on the Ravens' 35-yard line. 1st and 10. Take me through it.
Yeah, so without Ben Johnson, some people thought that this Lions offense was going to get a little mundane, take a little step back. And we saw with the Bears game on Sunday, they were running some trick plays, some flea flickers. And I think Dan Campbell got a little jealous. He saw his ex over there in Chicago running some fun plays. He said, you know what, we can still do that. And we're going to talk about that right now with a double pass, a fun play that's hard to illustrate it. So we're going to do it for you. Give me that helmet. All right. In this situation, I am Jared Goff. Ryan is David Montgomery. I'm going to snap the ball. Hut. I have the ball. Pitch to David Montgomery. All right, he's going to run out. They think he's running. Nope, I'm back here. Passes it back to me. Double pass. That's the second pass. I see Amon-Ra down the field. I'm going to toss it out to him. big gain, first down. It's a fun play. Trickery is kind of the name of the game for the Lions in the past. Let me get rid of this stuff. Trickery was kind of the name of the game in the past for the Lions. They love to move around. That was what Ben Johnson did great. And that's what we saw on Sunday from the Chicago Bears. They played around with the ball. They played around moving guys in motion. We saw it on Monday night with the Lions. They said, hey, we can still do these things. Dan Campbell is a fun guy. He likes throwing this stuff out. He goes for fourth down every other possession. They do fun stuff like this. And these plays are useful because of the deception that you can get downfield. We saw it with the flea flicker with the Bears. It got Luther Burden wide open down the field. This got Amon-Ra wide open down the field because you're pulling guys off the play. I couldn't see totally if it was man or zone coverage just because the cameras were so focused on what was going on in the backfield. But what you could see was the two linebackers who were dropping back, they saw Montgomery get the ball and they totally bit. They completely abandoned their assignments, and that leaves Amon-Ra wide open down the field.
I feel like John Morton was in his bag. He was just opening a lot of plays for that offense. And I think they really sold it well, too. Jared Goff, gives it to, Montgomery. He's walking a little bit, then catches the football, then just, la-di-da, throw it to St. Brown. I feel like they sold it really well.
Yeah, the Lions offense has big shoes to fill with Ben Johnson gone. And they're showing that, hey, we're still the same offense. You don't have nothing to worry about. We're going to do the same things, and we're going to do them just as well, if not better. They eviscerated what is supposed to be a good Ravens defense, and they were using some trickery to do it. That's a lot of fun. We're going to see more of that throughout the year. Good job, Lions.
All right, to the next play. On the ensuing play, 1st and 10 on the 18-yard line, and right back to St. Brown.
Yeah, so this is a great play, and this is man coverage all the way. It's just kind of a good route from St. Brown here. Jared Goff and St. Brown, that's one of the best connections in football, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is growing into one of maybe a top 3 receiver in football. He's been so good this year, and I love this route from him. It's kind of a bit of deception because he's lined up to the left of one of his receivers. A little pre-snap motion. Love that in the Lions offense. They do that a lot. It's a short little pre-snap motion, though. He just goes and gets around his receiver and then goes up the field. And now when you're starting this route, it looks like it's going to be a go route. So the corner and the safety who are coming to cover him, they come down to cover him. We're running with him, and he bites, hits that hard, just a little, and they go, oh, he's cutting back for the ball. It's a comeback route. The ball's going to be there waiting for him. There's no ball there. Right back up the field. Ball comes over into his arms. Great completion, touchdown. Awesome. It's a great play. It's more of a great route from St. Brown, just demonstrating his athleticism, than it is a great route tree. But this is a standard route tree that you're going to see in a game. Based on the trickery here, I would say it was probably designed for St. Brown. It was always going to go towards the end zone. But when you have other options here, it can go anywhere. My opinion, this was a St. Brown play all the way, demonstrating what he can do, making a guy look silly. More fun stuff from the Lions.
I feel like it was just so amazing seeing Brown doing this right after the previous play he got targeted and caught the pass. Just to have that, athleticism, just have that agility, just continue on the play. And he, sold it to Humphrey. He did that, fake, got into the end zone. Speak to me about St. Brown's ability to, just next play happens, he gets a catch, and then he gets a catch again. He does that type of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy how many focal points there are in this Lions offense. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs, you've got David Montgomery, you've got Jameson Williams, and then you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you could throw in Sam Laporta, too, if you wanted to. The first drive of this game, the focus was going to Jameson Williams. If he gets 2 big plays, all right, maybe it's Jameson Williams. And then Amon-Ra just takes over. He said, this is my offense. Let's not forget that. He is the focal point here. The defenses are going to be focused on him, which helps open up other guys. But even if the defense is focused on Amon-Ra, he's going to get open. He is so good at it. He's very elusive. He runs his routes well. And if you want to target him 5 times in a row, he's going to be ready for it. He's got no problem with that. He's a professional. He's so good. I could talk about St. Brown for a whole episode if I wanted to. And we're going to talk more about him. But the fact of the matter is, he's a top guy for a reason.
And I just want to point out, too, Goff's throw, just so accurate. We saw that the whole game. We've only seen that his whole career, just being accurate. How great is it? How great is Goff when it comes to his accuracy? Yeah,
we talked about this in our preview show on Thursday, how Goff is elevated by the talent around him. Some guys elevate the talent around them. Other guys are elevated by the talent around them. Goff does really well working with the weapons he has. He knows he is surrounded by an incredible group of guys. Like I said, all of his wide receivers, his great running back room, and he utilizes that. He knows if he puts an accurate ball on St. Brown in tight coverage, he's going to catch the football. He doesn't have to make it perfect so that no one can touch it. If he just gets it to him, Amon-Ra's going to come down with that football. He knows that he has that option. He has Gibbs to dump off if he needs to, or if he got Montgomery to get him a short yardage. He utilizes his offense well, and Dan Campbell knows what he has. It's just a whole unit that works really well together.
All right, fast forward to the end of the third quarter. It's tied at 21. The Lions have the ball, 4th and 1 at the 4-yard line. Take it away here.
Bit more trickery. Less so than what we saw in a double pass, but this is such a fun play. It's a speed option. I want to take that football back again. The point of a speed option is you can go kind of anywhere with the ball once the runner has it. So usually when you do a speed option, you're utilizing the quarterback. This is something that you would see a Lamar Jackson do. When you snap the football, Lamar Jackson's going to tuck it and start running, so the defense says, hey, this is a design run with Lamar Jackson. And then you look behind him, probably not at Derrick Henry, maybe Zay Flowers is behind him. If the pressure is coming on Lamar, he's going to say, oh, I see the pressure, dump it over to Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is going to go. Now, obviously, that's not what happens here. This is a bit of a modified speed option where you don't use the quarterback because Jared Goff is slow. He is not going to run the football a lot. Jared Goff's over-under on rushing yards was 0.5 last night. He got 6, so good job to anyone who saw that. What happens here is Goff snaps the ball, hands it off to St. Brown, not the running back. So there could be some confusion there from the defense. St. Brown is going to start chugging her up. Defense says he's going to run the ball because they're close to the end zone, go for the touchdown. Meanwhile, Ryan Sanudo, who is Jahmyr Gibbs,
very speedy,
running right behind him, gives him a quick little pitch. Gibbs runs it into the end zone. This is as heavy of a blitz as you can imagine. Let's get rid of this. This is as heavy of a blitz as you can imagine. They send almost everybody because they've lined up one wide receiver here. So they can say, hey, we're going to send everyone, take down whatever kind of run they're doing. Motion, again, as I've said, name of the game for the Lions, moving guys around. When all 10 guys come into the backfield and no one's there, it gives them an easy route around. And especially with that pitch motion to get Gibbs a little more space to get around the edge and into the end zone, there's no beating this play for the Ravens here when you're lined up with such a heavy box. If they had more guys spread out, sure, they would probably be able to get someone into the backfield and get Gibbs down. No one's there. No one's home. It's impossible to stop this in this scenario. It's not impossible to stop. Just in this scenario, there's no beating it for the Ravens.
I just felt like the Lions were more prepared when it came to 4th and short, 3rd and short, compared to the Ravens. They were having struggles on that side, on that type of play. Is it because they were more prepared, or was it execution, or it could be both probably for Detroit?
It could definitely be both. We saw a lot of sacks in third down situations, short situations for the Ravens, and the Lions were just converting over and over again. You could say it's preparation, you could say it's execution, and a lot of those things go out the window once you actually get on the field. You just have to play in the moment. It's hard. It's a really good defense that had a bad game, or it's just a bad defense at this point. We're 3 weeks in and we're still seeing rough spots from them, so it could just be that they were oversold to us. It could be that the Lions saw something that they knew they could exploit. It could be that they were just well prepared, that they just executed well. It could be anything, but what the fact of the matter is the Lions were just executing better. They did everything that they needed to get these yardage situations, to get their first downs, to get their scores. I mean, they scored 5 touchdowns. It was just, you can't really beat that. When you're scoring 5 touchdowns and the opposing team has to catch up to that, not many times you're going to catch up. We can talk about Goff back in, 2019 when he was on the Rams and he had the 50-49 game against the Chiefs. So maybe sometimes if the opponent scores 5 touchdowns, you can still win. Most situations, if your defense is giving up 5 touchdowns, mail it in. It's game over. And the Lions just did everything they needed to, and the Ravens had no answer.
Like the Ravens, they were just punting the ball 4th and 9. They could have, tried to go for it, and they didn't late in the game. 4th and 1, they go for it, Detroit. That's Dan Campbell's MO, to go for it. Even Troy Aikman said big onions when it comes to Dan Campbell and that, mindset. I think that's just what Detroit does, and teams can't do anything about it.
Yeah, Dan Campbell loves 4th down. I think he loves running 4th down plays more than anything else, because I think he just likes to live dangerously. Either you get the first down or the other team gets the ball. He loves that. The Lions they live on the edge, but they also play hard when they're in those scenarios. I think they just like to run through a brick wall for Dan Campbell. No one motivates their guys like he does. And when they get into those situations where you have to have it, there's no other option, you have to have the first down, they run through anyone. They will do anything to get that yardage. We said it when Dan Campbell first came into the Lions. They're gritty. They've got so much grit. They play with so much toughness and intensity, and they really do, especially in these fourth down situations when Dan Campbell just wants to get crazy. And we have fun watching it.
All right, to the next topic, Mark Andrews, 2 touchdowns in the loss. The previous 2 games, he only had 2 catches combined. Mark Andrews, he might be back.
He might be. This is vintage Mark Andrews. You want to see him scoring. You want to see him getting down the field, having a connection with Lamar Jackson. We haven't seen it in a while. He's hurt a lot last year. This year, slow start. Maybe this is the sparking point. And let's take a look at this play where one of his scores comes from. This is why Mark Andrews is a great weapon in your offense that should be utilized more. And this is why in the last 2 weeks, there were issues with not using him. Pure man coverage here. Lamar Jackson has got 4 guys out wide. The running back is out of consideration. He's just there to block. Everyone's going to the end zone in this situation. And Mark Andrews is draped. He's got 2 guys on him. Hits his corner pretty well and just dives out and hangs on to the football. He had some drops, some pretty critical drops in the playoffs, if you remember. So this is a good sign for him to get some trust back, not only from his team, but in himself, that, hey, I can catch the football and I can do my job, because he is draped by these 2 guys in the end zone, making his corner. Lamar Jackson puts a perfect ball on him, draped by 2 guys, holds on to it for a touchdown. This is a very important play, not only to keep them in the game because it was turning into a blowout, but also for Andrews' place in the offense. Isaiah Likely's out right now. He's going to have a role when he comes back, but Mark Andrews is your guy. He is 8th year now with the Ravens. He's one of their best tight ends ever. He needs to make sure he remembers that he is Mark Andrews. He is an important piece in this offense, and that he needs to be important going forward.
I feel like with Mark Andrews, he makes the most difficult catches. That was a difficult catch, catching it to his side like that. And then the easy ones against Buffalo, terrible drop at the end too. Is that what Andrews does sometimes? He overthinks when it's an easy catch, but when it comes to making that tough one, he finds a way?
It could be. A lot of this stuff comes down to mentality, mindset, just getting in your own head. And I think maybe he could have been in his own head with those playoff drops and those other sort of things. You just sometimes need one good play to get you going forward. You just need one good moment to say, hey, I'm still that guy. I can still do this. For the longest time, it was Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. Those were the 2 guys. They were the top tight ends. And then in recent years, there's still Travis Kelce, even though lately he's fallen off a bit, and then more guys coming up, and Mark Andrews has kind of fallen into the background. We've forgotten about him a little bit with these errors that he's had. He needs to remember, hey, we've told Travis Kelce, hey, you have to wake up. You have to wake up for this team to be good. Ravens are 1-2 now. Mark Andrews, you woke up. Don't fall back asleep. We need you. We need you out there making these catches, getting downfield, being a blanket for Lamar Jackson to just catch those important passes. You can't drop the easy ones. Keep hauling in the hard ones. You're Mark Andrews. Play like Mark Andrews. You're a top player. Just remember who you are.
Definitely. Zay Flowers only had 2 catches. Other guys really weren't getting involved in the passing game. The Lions were just covering so well and getting pressure to Lamar Jackson. All right, to the last topic we go. Quarterback comparisons. Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff. Goff had a great game. No turnovers. Lamar Jackson, meanwhile, did get the passing touchdowns, 3. Had a really good game, but did have a fumble as well. It was probably Goff's better game. But for Lamar, there were certain things where the offense just couldn't get things going at the end of the game.
Yeah, I think Jackson's stat line is a little deceiving because you look, he's got a good passing total. He's got a couple touchdowns. A lot of sacks in there that he probably shouldn't have taken, just in key moments where he's just driving the team back, where he really needs to either get the ball out or try and escape the pocket. He's got legs. He should be getting out there and running away, but he's taking some key sacks. Maybe there's some issues with the offensive line, but you're Lamar Jackson. Get the ball out. You have to do that, especially when you're behind like this. You can't be taking sacks. On the flip side, Jared Goff, like we said earlier, is just doing what he needs to do. Just being the guy to function the offense, not forcing anything, not trying to be a hero, just saying, hey, I'm Jared Goff. I know who I am. I know who's around me. there's Amon-Ra, I'll get it to him. There's Sam Laporta, he can have it. Jamison Williams can have it in the first quarter and then never again. And my running backs can do their jobs. 202 yards and 1 passing touchdown. You look at that and you say, oh, all right, that's whatever. But if you watched him play, if you watched the throws he was making, if you watched how he commanded the offense, he clearly had a better day than Lamar Jackson. If you look at their fantasy points, like sure, Lamar Jackson had like 28 points and Jared Goff had 12. Jared Goff won the game, and he looked a lot better doing it, in my opinion.
I feel like the Ravens, they had a lot of routes going downfield. There was nothing really short for Lamar, and he's seeing no guys open, and there's nothing short, so he gets sacked as a result. Do you think Baltimore's offense could have been a little bit better in terms of getting the receivers open more?
Yeah, I think the play calling felt almost panicked. Like they thought they needed to just bomb the ball downfield to get back into the game. That's not going to work. Just chucking the ball every play. That's what I do in Madden when I'm losing by too much and I think I need to get into the game. You still need to have those short routes, those guys getting open and down underneath to have openings throughout the field. You can't just chuck it every play because if Lamar doesn't have anywhere to go with the ball, then he's either got to run it or he's going to get sacked. It's just not good play calling. It's not good situational play calling. You can't totally abandon your game plan just because you're losing and just because you're losing late. So there is some fault that goes on to the coaches. Harbaugh has been under fire for a few years because they just can't get over that hump. Jackson did well for what he had. Obviously, we said his stat line is pretty good. He took some sacks that he shouldn't have, but he kept them in the game. I would say he almost single-handedly kept them in the game because outside of one big run, Derrick Henry didn't do much. You said Zay Flowers didn't do much. Mark Andrews was the only guy who was really holding on to the ball for Jackson. So it's a tale of two quarterbacks here. One guy stayed composed, did his job the whole night. The other guy really had to just do everything, and it didn't work out for the Ravens.
I feel like Lamar could have used his legs a little bit more too. 7 rushes, but he didn't crack, I think, 35 yards, I think a little bit less. We have a colleague that had a bet, rushing yards that he needed, and finally he got at the very end. But you think Lamar could have used his legs a little bit more? I know that Detroit had a spy on him, so that might have been tough for him.
Yeah, it feels recently that Lamar's kind of gotten away from his running game. That's who he is. That's what made him famous, I guess, in the league. His legs are better than a lot of running backs' legs. He should be using that a lot. And we've seen as his career has developed that his passing game has developed as well, and he's an incredible passer. He's one of the best in the league now. But that shouldn't stop him from using his legs. He can beat. There were a couple of runs that we saw where he was juking guys out of their shoes, and you're just sitting there, just hands on your head, like, oh my God, this guy is crazy. He just doesn't do it all that much anymore. 35 yards is, not that much. Last week he only ran the ball, I think, 8 times. Just not the kind of script that you want from a guy who can get around anyone in any situation. Sure, he's really great at throwing the ball now, and 280 passing yards. That's great. In the situations where, hey, we should maybe be running the ball with Lamar Jackson, they're not. And the situations where he needs to escape and use his legs, he's not. Don't know what's going on there. Some sort of philosophical change in the offense, maybe. Let's look back a few years at the 2 MVPs that Lamar Jackson won and said, hey, he was doing something there that worked. Maybe we should try doing that again.
All right, the Ravens are 1-2 now. They're facing potential 1-3 if they lose to the Chiefs. What do you think what do you think is going to happen in that game, and are you scared for the Ravens moving forward?
If you fall to 1-3, I think you start to panic. They started 0-2 last year.
Yeah.
So, okay, that worked out fine. They made it to the playoffs. But you start 1-3, all right, then maybe we start sounding some alarm bells because that just is not good for a team that's supposed to be a Super Bowl contender to be 1-3 in a division that they should win like pretty easily. The Steelers are not that great. The Bengals don't have Joe Burrow, and the Browns are. I was going to say the Browns, but they beat the Packers, so now I'm really confused about.
Yeah, nothing makes sense anymore.
But that's a division where I feel like they should pretty handily be in the lead right now, and instead they're in last place. That is not good. 1-3 is going to put them completely in the dirt. There's going to be chaos in that division, so sure, things will change as the season goes on, and they're always going to have a chance. But you're the Ravens. You should not be 1-3. You have a 2-time MVP quarterback. You have a defense that's supposed to be really good. You have a Super Bowl winning head coach. Like there's something going wrong here.
Yeah.
And if it goes to 1-3, you hit the panic button. Something drastically needs to change, or else you start questioning, are they even going to be a playoff team?
Definitely. I'm not hitting the panic button. I think the Ravens offense, one of the best in the league. I think they're the highest scoring team in the league. And the fact that they're 1-2 makes absolutely no sense. But when you see that defense, you're saying, okay, that does make some sense. They have to, get things going. Chiefs offense, they don't have weapons, outside of, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So they got to get things done next week on the road.
Yeah, if they don't, you can have a conversation whether or not you want to hit the panic button. What you can say is something is wrong, something's got to change. If it's not the offense, get the defense together, players only meeting, who knows, someone's got to throw a chair, get the guys fired up, because if this goes on, you're going to have big problems down the road.
Harbaugh needs to be aggressive too. I mean, he should have done that at the end of the game. All right, that's going to wrap things up here at Football X's and O's. You can catch us every Monday. We also have Ain't That Our Ball every Thursday. Please leave a like and subscribe and let us know in the comments what you think of this Ravens 1-2 start for the season.